The galaxy was on fire. The oppressive Dominion had spent centuries crushing any trace of rebellion, branding all who opposed them as outlaws, traitors, and terrorists. But now, in the darkest reaches of space, something had risen that even the Dominion feared, something they had tried to erase from existence. The Spectre. The warship wasn't supposed to exist. It had been a myth, a legend whispered in hushed voices across colonies and starports. The Spectre was the last free warship, an outlawed vessel believed to have been destroyed in the last great battle against the Dominion. And yet, here it was, drifting in the void like a sleeping giant waiting to be awakened. Elias Voss had spent years searching for it. Now, as he stood on the rusted command bridge, staring at the flickering control panels, he knew that history was about to be rewritten. A rebellion ignited. "This thing is a goddamn relic," Drax muttered, kicking at a loose panel. The engineer had seen his fair share of ships, but nothing like this. Sienna Lorne rolled her eyes. "Relic or not, it's our best shot. We need to get it operational before the Dominion tracks us here." Elias exhaled, stepping forward. "Then let's not waste any time. Drax, assess the power core. Sienna, scan the weapons system. If we're going to fight back, we need this ship battle-ready." Drax saluted mockingly before disappearing into the depths of the ship. Sienna sighed, tapping at her wrist console. "You really think this thing can take on the Dominion?" Elias toned, gazing at the skeletal remains of the once great warship. "I don't just think, Sienna. I know." The Dominion's shadow. Meanwhile, light years away, Admiral Kale Dramer stood before a holomep, his sharp gaze locked onto a blinking red signal. He had spent his entire career eradicating rebellion, ensuring the Dominion's absolute control. And now, against all odds, the Spectre had resurfaced. "Deploy the hunters," Dramer commanded. "If the Spectre has truly returned, I want it burned from existence. No survivors." The Dominion's fleet, cold and efficient, roared to life. The hunt had begun, resurrecting a legend. Back on the Spectre, Drax's voice crackled through the comms. "Good news. She's got a beating heart. The power core is intact, but barely. We'll need to jumpstart it manually." Sienna's fingers danced over the weapons console. Most of the main artillery is shot, but the rail cannons, they might still have some fight in them. Elias nodded. "Then we work with what we've got. We're not just reviving this ship. We're building a new rebellion. The Dominion thinks they've won, but they haven't met us yet." Drax chuckled. "Well, I always wanted to die in a blaze of glory. Might as well do it on the most infamous warship in history." Sienna smirked. "Let's make sure we don't die just yet." As the ship's systems flickered, the Spectre seemed to shudder, as if aware of its purpose. The last warship had returned, and with it, the spark of rebellion. The era of resistance had begun. The warship trembled as its ancient systems groaned back to life. A deep hum echoed through the corridors, the sound of a beast stirring from a long slumber. The Spectre, once believed to be a ghost of the past, was breathing again. Elias Voss stood on the bridge, watching the dim lights flicker as power surged through the vessel's veins. His hands were clenched into fists, his mind racing. This was it, the first step toward revolution. But first, they had to survive. An unstable resurrection. Drax cursed as a burst of steam shot from a nearby panel. "Damn it! This ship's been dead for years. We're lucky we haven't blown up already." Sienna Lorne was hunched over a console, running diagnostic scans. "The core's stabilizing, but we're running on borrowed time. We need more power if we're going to move, let alone fight." Elias turned toward them, his gaze unwavering. "We don't have the luxury of time. The Dominion is hunting us as we speak. We need to get this ship operational." Drax wiped sweat from his brow. "I can jury the power grid, but we'll need to find a fuel source. We're running on fumes." Sienna interjected, her voice sharp. "I scanned the nearby debris field. There's an old Dominion outpost there. If we're lucky, we can scavenge what we need." Elias nodded. "Then we move fast. Sienna, get the coordinates. Drax, prep the engines. We're bringing the Spectre back to war." The Dominion's pursuit. Light years away, Admiral Kale Dramer stood in the command center of the Dominion flagship, watching the tactical display. His officers were scrambling, reports flowing in about the Spectre's resurrection. A young lieutenant approached. "Sir, our long-range scout confirmed that the Spectre has power. It's not at full capacity, but it's operational." Dramer's lips curled into a thin smile. "Then they are vulnerable. Deploy a hunting squadron. I want that ship incinerated before it gains strength." The Dominion's warships roared to life, engines burning bright as they set a course for the last known location of the Spectre. A desperate gamble. Elias and his crew strapped in as the Spectre rumbled, engines sputtering but holding. The ship lurched forward, breaking free of the debris it had been trapped in for years. It wasn't a smooth ride, but it was movement. "Engines at 40%, Drax called out. "Not pretty, but we're flying." Sienna punched in the coordinates. Approaching the debris field. Scanners show minimal activity. Looks like the Dominion abandoned this place years ago. Elias studied the holomap. "That doesn't mean it's safe. We get in, grab what we need, and get out. No heroics." The Spectre maneuvered into the debris field, weaving through broken hulls of ancient ships. The Dominion outpost loomed ahead, a rusting station, forgotten by time. "Docking sequence initiated," Sienna said. "Let's make this quick." An unexpected encounter. Elias led the team into the station, weapons drawn. The air was stale, the walls lined with decay. They moved swiftly, scavenging power cells, fuel reserves, and anything that could help restore the Spectre. Then they heard it. A faint beep, a distress signal. Drax froze. "That's not ours." Sienna's eyes widened. "We're not alone." Elias turned a corner and found a reinforced cell, its door barely holding shut. Inside was a man, gaunt but alive, his eyes locked onto Elias's. You're not Dominion," the man rasped. "You're Resistance." Elias stepped closer. "Who are you?" The man's voice was weak but urgent. "I'm Lieutenant Arlen Price. I know how to take down the Dominion. Get me out of here." A low rumble shook the station. Sienna's scanner blared a warning. "Dominion warships inbound. We have to move." Elias didn't hesitate. "We take him. Let's go." The escape. They rushed back to the Spectre, carrying fuel cells and dragging Price along. The ship's systems flared to life as they boarded, alarms blaring. Drax shouted from engineering. "They've got us locked. We need more power to jump." Price, still breathless, pointed to a control panel. "The auxiliary boosters, they are tied to a failsafe system. Override it and you'll get the burst you need." Sienna's hands flew over the controls. "Override initiated. Buckle up." The Spectre roared as its engine surged. The ship blasted forward, narrowly dodging enemy fire, before disappearing into hyperspace. As silence settled, Elias turned to Price. "You said you know how to take down the Dominion. Explain." Price exhaled. "I was a Dominion officer. I defected when I learned the truth. They are building something that will end the Resistance for good. If we don't stop them, there won't be anything left to fight for." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then we stop them. The Spectre isn't just a warship, it's a symbol. And we're about to show the galaxy that the fight isn't over." The war had truly begun. The Spectre drifted silently through the void, its newly awakened systems humming with renewed energy. Elias Voss stood at the bridge, his hands gripping the command console. The weight of their last encounter still lingered. Lieutenant Arlen Price's words echoed in his mind. "They are building something that will end the Resistance for good." Elias turned to Price, who sat at a terminal, scanning Dominion data logs they had recovered. "Tell me everything you know." Price took a deep breath. "The Dominion is constructing a warship unlike anything we've seen before. It's called Judgment, and it's powered by a core that could wipe out entire fleets in a single strike. If they complete it, the Resistance won't stand a chance." A tense silence filled the bridge. Sienna Lorne broke it. "Do we know where it's being built?" Price hesitated. "It's classified, but I know a way to find out. The Dominion's communication relay at Zendust Station. If we tap into it, we can pull the location from their encrypted logs." Drax let out a low whistle. "Zendust? That place is crawling with Dominion forces. We'll be walking into a death trap." Elias's expression hardened. Then we'll just have to be ghosts. The infiltration plan. The Spectre maneuvered towards Zendar Station, a heavily fortified Dominion relay floating on the edge of a dying star system. Its defenses were robust, patrolling warships, automated turrets, and a constant stream of communications buzzing through the void. "We can't just waltz in," Drax said, pulling up the schematics they had stolen. "But I can mask our signatures and buy us a short window. If we stay on the station's blind side, we might be able to dock unnoticed." Sienna nodded. "I'll handle the encryption. Once we're inside, we need to move fast." Elias looked at the crew. "No mistakes. If we're caught, there won't be a second chance." With silent agreement, they readied themselves. Into the lion's den, dressed in stolen Dominion uniforms, Elias, Sienna, and Price slipped onto the station, their presence masked by Drax's interference. The halls were sterile, filled with officers moving with rigid precision. One wrong move, one wrong glance, and the mission would be over. Sienna tapped a small device on her wrist, signaling Drax. "We're in. What's our path?" Drax's voice crackled in her earpiece. "North corridor, past the security bay. There's a maintenance hatch that leads to the relay servers. Move." They moved quickly, their stolen credentials barely passing scrutiny at security checkpoints. The tension was suffocating, but they reached the relay room without incident. Price accessed the terminal, fingers flying across the keys. Decrypting now. Damn, they've got heavy firewalls. Sienna joined him, eyes scanning the code. Then we cracked them. The seconds dragged as the Dominion defenses fought back, but then the screen flashed green. "Got it," Price whispered. "Uploading data now." Then the alarms blared. "Breach detected. All security units to relay station." "Damn it!" Elias hissed. "Drax, we need an extraction." "I'm on it, but you need to move." They sprinted through the corridors as guards swarmed in. Shots rang out, Dominion soldiers taking aim. Elias returned fire, taking down 2, while Sienna tossed a stun grenade, buying them precious seconds. The docking bay was within reach when a blast rocked the station. Drax had overridden the security doors, forcing them open. The Spectre hovered just beyond the breach, its boarding ramp extended. "Jump!" Elias shouted. One by one, they leaped aboard, landing hard as the ship pulled away. The Dominion's warships roared to life, giving chase. "We've got fighters inbound." Sienna called. Elias strapped in. "Drax, take us out." The chase. The Spectre weaved through enemy fire, dodging torpedoes as Drax pushed the engines to their limits. Dominion warships closed in, their weapons locking onto their fleeing vessel. "Brace!" Drax yelled as a blast grazed the hull, sending sparks flying. Price scrambled to a console. "I can rear out power to shields, but we need more speed." Elias gritted his teeth. "Sienna, fire suppression rounds. Aim for their engines." She complied, and the Spectre spat out a volley of ion bursts, striking the lead Dominion ship. The vessel lurched, its engines flickering. The opening was just enough. Drax punched the controls. "Engaging hyperdrive. Hold on." The stars blurred, and in a flash, they were gone. The revelation. As the ship stabilized, Elias turned to Price. "Did we get it?" Price pulled up the decrypted files. His face paled. "It's worse than we thought. Judgment isn't just a warship, it's a planetary eraser. The Dominion isn't building it to win battles. They are building it to end entire civilizations." A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Elias's jaw tightened. "Then we stop them, no matter what it takes." The Spectre had a mission, and failure was not an option. The Spectre floated in the vast darkness of space. Its crew gathered around the command console, processing the gravity of what they had just uncovered. Judgment was not just a warship, it was a doomsday device. If completed, it would wipe out entire planets, reducing resistance to nothing but scattered remnants. Elias Voss stood at the center, his mind racing. "We have to act now. If the Dominion deploys Judgment, it's over." Sienna Lorne, her fingers moving quickly across the holographic interface, pulled up the star maps. The decrypted files show that Judgment is being built at a secret shipyard in the Thanatos system. It's heavily fortified. We can't just waltz in. Drax leaned back, arms crossed. Then we hit them where it hurts. If we can sabotage the power core before it's fully operational, we can turn that monster into scrap before they even launch it. Lieutenant Arlen Price nodded. I have the security override code from my time in the Dominion. If we can get close enough, I can deactivate their defenses. But we'll have a short window before they realize what's happening. Elias exhaled. Then we make every second count. Approaching Thanatos shipyard. The Thanatos system was an abyss of dying stars, its asteroid fields littered with the remains of old battles. In the heart of it stood the Dominion secret shipyard, a massive, armored station housing the unfinished Judgment. The Spectre coasted through the debris field, hidden from Dominion scanners. Drax piloted with expert precision, guiding them into position. We have one shot at this, Elias murmured. Price, Sienna, you're with me. We infiltrate and plant the explosives on the power core. Drax, keep the ship running. We'll need a fast exit. The crew suited up. The air was thick with tension. Let's move. Infiltrating the shipyard. Dressed in stolen Dominion engineering suits, Elias and his team moved through the maintenance tunnels, avoiding security patrols. The halls buzzed with activity. Technicians worked on Judgment's final assembly, unaware of the storm brewing around them. Sienna whispered, We're nearing the core. Price, are the override codes ready? Price nodded and activated his wrist device. A moment later, the security grid flickered, cameras and alarms temporarily disabled. We're in. They slipped into the reactor chamber, the massive power core pulsing with raw energy. It was an architectural marvel. Glowing conduits spiraled around the chamber, feeding energy into the heart of Judgment. Elias set down the charges. This should be enough to disable it permanently. Let's move. As the last explosive was placed, an alarm blared. The Dominion had detected them. Damn it! We have to go. Price shouted. Guards stormed in, weapons raised. A firefight erupted. Sienna took cover, returning fire as Elias shielded Price. The room filled with energy blasts, but they fought their way through, making a break for the exit. Drax, we need extraction. Now! Escape and the explosion. The Spectre swooped into the docking bay, its ramp lowering as the crew sprinted aboard. Drax gunned the engines, dodging incoming Dominion fighters. Hold on! He shouted as he punched the hyperdrive. The charges detonated. A massive explosion tore through the shipyard, Judgment collapsing in on itself as its core ruptured. Elias watched from the viewport, his breath heavy. It's done. The Dominion had lost their ultimate weapon. But war was far from over. The Spectre drifted through the infinite void, the wreckage of the Dominion's secret shipyard still glowing from the inferno they had unleashed. The destruction of Judgment was a victory, but it was also a signal, a declaration of war. Elias Voss stood on the bridge, watching the fading remnants of the Thanatos system. His hands were steady, but his mind raced. We did it, he said, more to himself than anyone else. But what comes next? Sienna Lorne, standing beside him, exhaled heavily. They're going to come after us harder than ever now. Judgment was ace, and we just wiped it off the board. Drax let out a low chuckle from his seat at the controls. Yeah, but we also just gave every resistance cell in the galaxy something they haven't had in years. Hope. Lieutenant Arlen Price nodded. The Dominion won't let this go unanswered. We need to disappear for a while. Regroup. They'll be sending everything they have after us. Elias turned to his crew, a fire burning in his eyes. Then let's make sure we're ready for them. The hunt begins. As expected, the Dominion did not take the loss of Judgment lightly. Within days, the entire sector was crawling with Dominion patrols, searching for the crew responsible. Bounty notices flooded the underworld, each of their faces now infamous across the galaxy. The Spectre remained hidden within the shadows of an abandoned asteroid colony deep in the Zareth belt. The makeshift hideout provided temporary refuge, but time was running out. We need more than just hiding, Elias said during a briefing. We need allies. Sienna pulled up a star map. I might have a lead. There's an old warship graveyard on the edge of the Typhon expanse. If the rumors are true, it's more than just a scrapyard. There are still functional ships in there, hidden away since the last rebellion. Drax smirked. A fleet of ghosts to fight the Dominion? Sound poetic. Elias nodded. Then let's see if ghosts can still wage war. The Graveyard of Legends. Navigating through the Typhon expanse was no easy feat. Violent storms of cosmic radiation and shifting gravitational fields made travel deadly. But when the Spectre finally emerged into the warship graveyard, the sight before them was breathtaking. Massive, derelict ships floated in the void, remnants of battles long past. Some were shattered beyond repair, but others still had life in them. Among them, a particular ship stood out. Eclipse, a legendary warship from the Rebellion's golden days. Sienna's voice was filled with awe. If we can get Eclipse operational, it would change everything. It's bigger, stronger, and more advanced than anything we've ever had. Elias turned to his crew. Then let's bring it back to life. A new war begins. Reviving Eclipse was no small task. The crew worked tirelessly, scavenging part from the graveyard, bypassing ancient security systems, and restoring the ship's forgotten power. But before they could finish, the Dominion found them. "We've got incoming." Drax yelled as warning sirens blared. 3 Dominion destroyers inbound. The crew scrambled, manning the half-repaired weapon systems as the enemy ships closed in. Explosions rocked the graveyard as the Dominion opened fire. The Spectre darted between debris, engaging in a deadly game of cat and mouse. "We need Eclipse online now." Elias shouted. Sienna frantically worked at the control panel. "Almost there. Just a few more seconds." A blast hit the Spectre, sending it into a spiral. "Brace for impact." Drax roared. Then a deep hum reverberated through space. The Eclipse came to life. Its ancient weapon systems flared, and with a single devastating blast, one of the Dominion destroyers was obliterated. The tides had turned. The final stand. With Eclipse at the lead, the Resistance had its first true warship. The remaining Dominion ships fought fiercely, but the combined might of Spectre and Eclipse overwhelmed them. One by one, the enemy fell. As the final destroyer exploded in a burst of fire and debris, Elias looked at his crew, his family. "This isn't the end," he said. "It's just the beginning." The Dominion would come again. They would strike harder, faster. But for the first time in years, the Resistance had the firepower to strike back. Elias turned to the stars, the embers of war burning anew in his heart. "We're not just outlaws anymore. We're a revolution."